After all the TikToks, this is very interesting. I'm glad you're so warmed up. And I know this conversation also will be easy, light, and it builds from the last conversation. I think Dr. Fiona talked about there's the idea that, for women, we need to read the room and speak out and be emotionally intelligent. So from that, then now we're able to have this conversation, which is so beautiful that you brought that in, the power of voice. I think this is a conversation around, we talk about it in different elements, but this is where we're trying to talk about the power that you have as a woman, but then also how you can use it, how you can use your voice for impact, not just, for anything, and also just how to build your confidence and trust. The panel here is quite intimidating because they're the ones who are actually out here voicing out. Adelle, before you came in, I think it was almost like she's coming, and everyone is a fan of you. Cynthia, you're in radio, you're everywhere, and you're speaking out more than anyone else in this room, I would say, in different capacities. And Engineer Liz, Kenya Association of Aviation, you're all in very nice spaces, and we just like you today to share your journey. I even think I'll put my questions away and just make it more personal, so you can start talking about how you have owned your journey. When did you just start speaking out, I think we can start, Adelle, coming this way, yeah.
It's very loud. There we go. Hi, everyone. How are you doing? It's such an honor to be here, and I think this is an incredible space. And in terms of owning my voice, I think I was very privileged to grow up in a family we used to call Estrogen FM because it was only girls. And my mom was very loud and vocal, so that's normal for my family. Even if I look at my aunts, if I look at my grandma, if I have something to say, I am going to say it, right? And so it's only when you interact with patriarchal spaces, which is what we navigate most of the time, that you realize that that's unheard of and that's misbehavior for a woman. But getting onto the media, I got in when I was just turning 20. And I realized that the media wanted women to who looked a certain way. So already, I did not look like that. And when you were inside, they would want to dress you in a certain way. So one experience I always speak to is the first professional photo shoot we had. You can imagine I was in university. First, I'm working with celebrities and music. It's fun. And I get into the room, and I see these incredible hoodies by an emerging Kenyan designer called Jamhuri Wear that still exists to date. And I was like, this is great, this is what we're wearing. And the stylist said, no, for you guys, it's that other side of the table. And when I walked there, it was like these super ripped clothes, like more holes than material, right? And which I have no problem with if that's what you want to wear. My issue was, why is it that we have to sell our bodies if we don't want to, and we have to look a certain way? It was being drummed in that, like, for the women, you're here for us to sell you to sell the station. And I think that was one of the first times I realized, like, it's going to be more important now more than ever, and I was 20, for me to misbehave more and to be louder. And that's been the genesis of my career. I think we're spanning on 15 years now. So I moved from 1FM to Kiss FM and now running my own media company. It's I think the more privilege you have, the more disobedient you should be. And just because things have been one way doesn't mean that was the right way or that way serves us anymore. And so that was, I think, the key moment for me to be like, you need to constantly just share your truth, yeah.
More like the good, the bad, what is it that the video, they don't get the corner, I forget what it is, but it was trending at some point. Nice girls never get the corner office, something like that. Would you say the same, Dr.?
Doctor, I'll take doctor. Thank you.
Somehow it just looks like
engineer.
you.
Thank you. Anyway, I think, you know, being an aerospace engineer, you know, you're trained not really when you're younger to have a voice. If I look back from university, I think I was the only female, only African in a course. So you can imagine how intimidating that was. And then you enter, of course, the formal sector, hustling like anyone else. You know, you really started from the bottom, uko engineering, fixing bolts and nuts in an aircraft. And of course, I used to be judged a lot because I used to show up in a hangar with my high heels and my dress. And most people would be like, what sort of engineer is this? Like, what do you mean? But anyway, as fate would have it, I have transitioned from working for the industry to now being the voice of the industry. And I say that quite confidently because I look after the entire sector and I negotiate for the entire sector with government. And I still look how I looked when I was wearing those heels in the hangar. So my encouragement to all women is never change yourself just because someone somewhere wants to intimidate you. And in that, of course, your confidence will grow because one thing about the industry, I mean, and I like that all the ladies here are professionals, is we know our stuff. You know, competency doesn't choose gender. You either know your stuff or you don't. And my encouragement to everyone over here, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, tell us more. When did you start speaking out and how did you join radio?
Good afternoon, ladies. How are you? You all look stunning from here, I will tell you that. So, how I got my voice. So, I want to say like Adelle, I found out I had a voice at a very, very young age. So, my mom was a principal, so that means by default, there's a way principals from back in the day carried themselves. They had authority. So, I didn't have an option. Then I had brothers. I was the only girl, still am. I really did not have an option. So I found a way to consistently insert myself into my family's business. They knew I was present consistently. It did not matter what happened. They knew I was there. It was so good to appoint from my dad's side, they nicknamed me Wagwa Makeri. For those who are laughing, they know. I'm actually curious. The other day, I wanted to ask my dad, why did you guys call me that? Wagwa Makeri was the first Kikuyu chief. There's somebody who's doing a play on it, and what we know about Wagwa Makeri is absolutely a lie. How she lost her crown is an absolute lie. It's because she was the first woman, and men around her could not stand that she was their chief. They were upset. So they found a way to destroy her. So I think from a young age, my parents saw, or my relatives saw, I had a voice, and there's really nothing they could do about it. So they gave me a name that was a reflection of who I was. So over time, that is who I have been, and I have never stopped being myself. I remember when I walked into Royal Media Services, and the director and the HR asked me, where do you want to go? I was very clear. It's like, I want to go to Hot 96. She told me, okay, you will get there. Then she threw me to Radio Citizen. I was like, what? I've never even heard of this station. But let me tell you, by the time I was done with Radio Citizen, they knew I existed. It did not matter where they put me. I was vocal. They could see me. They could hear me by the time I was done. And Adelle will tell you, there's something so innate about having that voice that if you try and shut it, you will not function. Am I right? I don't know how to explain that. If you try and not talk, not speak up, not do anything, I don't think you will function properly. You'll feel like a part of you is dying. So for me, I think from the onset, I always knew I had a voice, so that is what for me has been the leverage for my entire life.
Okay. Interesting that you say it like that, because you might also break inside from not speaking out, but then people might break you from speaking out, also for speaking out. Adelle, you are also in advocacy and media entrepreneur, poet. You're speaking out a lot. How do you guide yourself emotionally? How do you guide yourself mentally, even as you speak out? Because that's also a fear. Yeah.
I'm really so happy. Like, aging is so wonderful and freeing, because a huge part of being in a front-facing career and also speaking about women's rights is that you get backlash, because a huge part of fighting for women's rights is asking those who have power to either be responsible or to either give up some of it. So of course there are going to be people who will be like, me, I don't want that, right? And so cyberbullying is a thing that comes with the territory. And I think when I was in my 20s, I mean, even now I clap back every so often, let me not lie. But there's a comfort I've found in what I'm saying. Like, I know what I'm saying. I know why I think women deserve certain rights, dignity, safety, etc. And so I will not engage with someone who first wants to debate with me as to whether I'm a human worthy of dignity. I think I've become clearer in knowing that that's not a conversation I want to engage in. So you can come with all of your insults, but if I respect myself, what's that saying of jiheshimu, I will not participate in that conversation. But I also think there is power in solitude and silence. I think if you gift yourself those two things, you start to check in with yourself more often and see whether you have the capacity, emotional capacity, to attend to certain things. So be it a cyberbully, be it an actual work event, or be it even a protest. Like last year was extremely draining. And so I think I've gotten better at checking in with myself and being like, hey, here, today just don't go online. Yeah, you're not there, right? So that's introspection. And the last thing I'll say is community. And I like to challenge what we think community is. I think we're socialized to believe community is family, and which it can be, but because we're socialized to think that, we don't even put the effort into family relations to make them community, right? So community can be sisterhood. I think I have incredible women, some who are also in media, so there's a way you can find strength in those circles because they get it, they get what comes with the territory. But community is even just like my gardener, like these conversations you have there where someone sees you in a way that other spaces may not be able to see you. And so it's important to, as a woman, I would say, seek community, but be open to knowing that community doesn't always look like what we're socialized to believe it is. The people who will see you may be people who you would never think that you could have a conversation with. And so I think that's how I don't, you know, this is a problem when you give people who speak for a living a microphone, we keep on going. But the last thing I will say about guarding yourself is just learning how to say no, right? And my therapist took 2 years drumming it into me, but like, you actually don't owe anyone an explanation other than no. Like, I don't want to, I'm not coming, I don't feel like, you know? And just reframing that no, saying no to something means saying yes to something else. It means saying yes to your peace of mind. It means saying yes to honoring your social battery. And so I think once you understand that, the world is not going to crumble because you didn't show up for something, you know? Especially when you don't want to. So saying no often, I think, was a game changer for me as well.
Yeah, I think there's a time my sister once gave me a book that says, smart women know when to say no, or how to say no. And that was also one of a game-changing book for me. Engineer Liz, I learned in Kenya, when somebody has obtained their certificate in some sectors like engineering, you have to start with engineer, so so basically that's...
We've studied pretty hard, so you better call me engineer.
So, engineer, Liz. The question that I want to share actually is with the same line of thought around confidence and the balance between building that confidence and the courage and also being authentic, but also you want to have respect in the room. And one, we've just said right now, you talked about how you'd show up in rooms and, you'd gain that respect. But other than how you've shown up, any other ways that you have to be able to, help, talk to ladies today as well on how to balance the courage, confidence, and also authenticity? Yeah.
That's a really good question. I think I'll try package it in a very simple terms. Showing up in a room at times doesn't mean you have to speak or speak the loudest. Actually, in my line of work, I listen more than I speak. So at times it's very important to fast. And I like what Dr. said. At times it's the most important thing actually is to listen. And then after you listen, you can retract so that you think before you make a decision. Because I think a lot of the times as ladies, we find ourselves very quick to want to respond, especially if you're in an intimidating space. You want to say, yes, even me, I want to say this, or I have this to contribute. But I've learned where I make the most important and beneficial decisions for the country is when I listen more, take a step back, think, and then go back with a decision I've thought about. The other thing I want to say is don't be afraid of failure. No one is perfect. None of us sitting here is perfect. We all make our mistakes. There are days where, you go into a boardroom and your idea is completely rejected and you feel embarrassed and you feel like, oh my God, I'm a loser. How could I have done that? And you want to beat yourself up. But remember, this is a journey, so every day look at it like a journey. Take every lesson with stride, and also don't be afraid to ask for help. Especially like nowadays, and I like the younger generation more. When I was growing up, we were told women are the worst. And it's true, I think some of us faced it, when you go into a room and you expect a woman to hold your hand and it's the opposite. But I like the younger generation because I'm seeing sisterhood, community, just as Adelle has said. There's a lot of women holding each other's hands, and it's such a blessing. I think it's just the beginning for the woman. Thank you.
That's nice. So to Cynthia, you have the same name as my sister, so it's easy to talk. So, you're in the media space. We just did a TikTok challenge right now, and she already knew about it, so I had them Kenya. We did a very good move. And you basically, because you're in the media space all the time, you also need to be on social media as well. So there's both traditional media and new media, and now AI, oh gosh. So what is the role of media in amplifying and also muting women's voices today? And then how can the women in this room today at least learn from you and how they can then leverage on these channels to share their voice but be smart about it? Yeah.
I say have the audacity of a man. Because let me tell you, the audacity of a man moves different. They will have nothing, but they will come. You're there with your, and this is just an example, you're there with your biggest GLE, and the guy is just minding his business. He will come to you, and he doesn't care. It's like me, I like you. I won't. And we both know probably your salary will support him. That kind of audacity is the kind we need to have. The kind of confidence where you can walk in and say what you need to say and hold the position that you have to do what needs to be done. Now, with the position that I have, I produce a breakfast show. I am very intentional about finding women who can be present on radio to talk about things consistently. So right now, while I'm seated here, I'm like, I have to take her contact, I have to take her contact, I have to take her contact, and any other thing I missed, I have to take her contact. Because if I don't, I'm probably not going to meet these people ever again. If not, I'll just hit up my sister here and tell her, you remember that girl, that lady, please give me her number. Let me see whether we can do something on radio. You have to be so intentional that nobody will be in your way at that point. And for me, I fight to be in the position that I am in, and I still consistently fight to have women on radio. So what options do we have? If we are not on radio, then use the digital platforms. So it's the fact that we're able to leverage as women on the gifts that we have. Let me tell you, the day I saw Adelle branch off and start her own outfit, you should have seen me and Terry Mukamba. It's like it was a party. We were just popping things like, oh my God, she's gone out. Okay, now the rest of us have to follow. Okay, no problem. Next thing you know, Terry now has branched off as well. She left media last year in December. She launched her podcast space last week. And she's very intentional because it's called Her Space. It's for women. She's curated it and is focusing on women's stories. So if you want to do your podcast, please look up Terry Moikamba. That's what she's doing. So women have to create their own space. And is it scary? Oh my God, it is. But it's what we have to do. Now that begs into the question that you asked. What can we do? We create our own spaces. They can't take them, they can't do anything about them. But we have to be audacious enough to create our own spaces. We have to be audacious enough to speak up and do not be scared. A lot of them will tell you, oh my God, Akisichui, am I saying the right thing? Says, oh, you're a doctor, you have a PhD, you have studied, you have experience, you have everything, yet somehow you're like, I don't think I'm good enough. I think, how about we ask Kimani to come and help you with what? Can you not do it? It's okay. We will come and cheer you on until you're able to stand on your ground. But be audacious and stand your ground. More importantly, seek out spaces. One of the things we learned in the last 2 years, we created a WhatsApp group for women in media that is for women who are looking out for spaces and opportunities for interviews. So in that group, there was one night I was panicking and a male guest had cancelled. And let me explain how bad it was. I call him, I confirm the interview. He's like, it's fine. I put out a post, I'm ready to do the poster. Then I tell him, you're gonna be on the panel with a lady. He's like, you can't put me up with that lady. How do you degrade me like that? I was like, bruh, what? Then on top of that, he told me, you know what? I'm not even coming. So, and your poster is not even out, so I don't see what you're telling me. I will not come for the interview. So he canceled. I was like, oh, that's how you're gonna play it, no problem. I get into the WhatsApp group. Do you know what time this is? It's at 9:30 p.m. 9:30, I write in the WhatsApp group, ladies, I need a political analyst for tomorrow's show. And that show, the person is coming in at 7 a.m. I got like 10 women. So it was for me to decide, okay, out of these 10, who do I want? But these women are also very intentional. If it's at 9 p.m., you won't tell me, Cynthia, I can't come. Oh, you know, because I have created a space, I need someone to stand in the gap. 10 women stood in the gap. They did not care about anything that's like, you've given us a space, we will take it. Because if you give the same opportunity to a man, he doesn't think twice. Like, quick, because they know what that will do for them. So for me, create spaces and take up that opportunity anytime you get it.
Okay. Wow. You give these ladies a mic and they will talk forever. Actually, in 2021 or so, I won an award, and it was on women empowerment and what we do with women today show. And Cynthia was the one who gave me the award. She was called to give me the award, and after that we had a chat, and she encouraged me. I don't think she thought she encouraged me, but she encouraged me to go on. So actually I didn't say that, but thank you. To Adelle, you've created a space of your own, but at this time also I realized this space is also for other people. Talk to us about Legally Clueless. Yeah, and what that does for also your society.
Yeah, so in 2019, I was doing the breakfast show on Kiss FM, and just to echo what Cynthia said, I was the only woman on my team all the way up to the CEO. And with the breakfast show, which is like prime, your CEO is like very hands-on with your show. Yet our station was serving more women, young women than men. But I found myself in meetings constantly being like, no, you can't say that, you're leaving out all of this. And even when it came down to content meetings for the show, constantly being like, no, that's not why this is happening. You have to think of this. And it just got boring, to be honest. And I realized if I stayed, I would only ascend to a manager role, and I could see the type of managers they had were the people who don't cause trouble. Now, early on, I told you I like disobeying. So I was like, I probably wouldn't be hired. If they're smart, they wouldn't hire me for that role. And so I think what's so important in changing the spaces for more women-owned media houses to exist. And so when I started Legally Clueless, I was very scared because I came from the very African school of thought that's beaten into us of you get a job, you work that job to the end, you retire, and then you go to shags to farm, right? And I was just like, even that I've lasted 10 years is a miracle because I don't think I'm made for this employment thing. And secondly, it's getting so irritating to constantly be amplifying stories or topics that I maybe don't give a damn about. Or two, I can see that we're not going in depth just because of how traditional radio is structured in terms of its format. You'll hear the same topics in the same way, not only because people are being lazy, but also because the format doesn't allow you to go in depth, right? And so it'll always be, who's gonna pay for the date? So boring, right? Or just like nonsensical topics, to be very honest. And so I quit. I knew I had to quit. I had planned to quit for 4 years, and I kept going back to change that line in your resignation letter for, it's been a great 5 years. The next year, I'm like, it's been a great 6 years. Until I finally, in 2018, I decided, why wasn't I doing it? It's because I was scared. And to speak to fear, you've got to name your fear, because there's never a state of no fear. And I don't even think that's a healthy state to even desire. There is some good elements of fear. Fear sometimes keeps you safe, right? But once you name your fear, you start to see if there's any solution towards it. And my fear was fear of failure. And so I had to define what did failure look like. And I was clear, failure looked like if I go out and start my business and fail, then I have to come back to this traditional media. That's failure. So we can't allow that. I had a fear of being financially dependent on someone else, mainly a man. Like, that's a fear, very healthy fear I have. And so 2018, I was like, okay, fine. What's the figure you need to comfortably not be working? And I did all the jobs in 2018. I went to Monaco. I think my manager, Wambari, is here. I really did work really hard in 2018, and I ended the year in South Africa for a work engagement. And I remember being at this table. There were different women from different countries from all over the world. And one of them from India was a radio presenter. And she said, oh, I'm a radio presenter. And I was sitting opposite the CEO of the company that brought us there. And I said, oh, I'm also a radio presenter. And the CEO goes like, oh, are you? And I was like, why did you hire me? And they hired me for everything other than this job that I was so scared to leave, right? And I came back home and I handed in that resignation. And then I started Legally Clueless. The first couple of episodes, it started primarily only as a podcast, was just me crying. Like, I think episode 1, I'm just crying, and I'm just like, no, what have I done? No, you know me, I'm just so scared, you know? And I kind of like, using people's ears, therapized my way to being confident in my decision. And then I decided to always have a microphone on me. And the more I traveled, the more I'd find very interesting Africans with just stories of like triumph in their everyday lives. And I literally recorded stories everywhere. I recorded stories at the AU in an abandoned room with someone I just met, and I was like, "You're so interesting, follow me," and put a microphone in his face. I recorded a story in a cab in Accra, Ghana. We'd gone for a conference, and one of the other participants, we'd left him the night before in like a club, and the next morning he was telling us all about his escapades, and I was like, "Hold on," got my microphone. I was like, "Tell us now," you know. And we kept growing and kept growing, and in the middle of the pandemic, we launched the video series, which I was very scared to do because I don't know how to edit. Well, I know how to edit video, but not like, you know, the quality I wanted. And at the same time, I was scared to scale my business, right? Because there's just fear whenever you're starting something new, but we did it. And then we went on tour. We went across Kenya first, then we went to Zimbabwe and to Paris. We did our East Africa tour. Last year, we went across Ethiopia, Uganda, Rwanda, just telling African stories with a huge bias to African women. And we launched our group therapy sessions because through the stories, we realized a lot of us need an extra resource to heal. So yes, you've got your story out, but it's like, how can we get you to be your best self? So if you want to come for group therapy, there's group therapy, and then we also did wellness talks. So something that was birthed from fear, which is why it's called Legally Clueless, because I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But all of you look so confident, but I know we're not, I can't be the only one who doesn't know what I'm doing. And it's meant to encourage primarily African women to know that it's okay not to know, right? Like even those of us on the stage here, we really don't know. Sometimes we put out products and I'm just like, I don't know how this is gonna work. I hope it works well, but like, even me, I don't know, you know? And that's okay. That's a huge part of like the human journey. And as women, once you acknowledge that, then you allow yourself to be your most self, because now fear is not an inhibitor, shame is not an inhibitor. And so, yeah, that's what Legally Clueless is. And it's just, I think we need more women running media organizations.
Okay,
Yeah.
That's good. I think there was a clip somewhere along the way. We can show this after. But before that, let's get to Engineer Liz. So engineer, we know power. Okay, I was looking at the definition of power, and it was something around resilience or strength. And yeah, women are resilient and strong, yes. But then, while, you know, there's that, there are other forms of power as well. Presence, influence, clarity. You know, I was looking for the word, softness even, you know. From your leadership journey, how do you define power, and how would you say, you know, you're standing in front of, I'm being told about the time, so I think we have one question, and then we are done, we open for the podium. But then how do you define power and resilience, and then how do you come out in your leadership? You're leading aviation sector, basically, and there's so many men, you know. How do you bring out that also with your voice?
And I like when you mentioned that at times power doesn't have to be, you know, a stamp of authority, like I'm here, listen to me. I found that power, especially feminine power, it's soft, it's tender. As I said, it has a listening ear. So for me, I think that's how I can define my power. And I know power is different for different people. I think Adelle has shared her power in terms of bringing out people's stories. And I wanted to touch a bit on something she shared about fear, just to give the audience my history of how I got this job. Quite interesting, because I also was trying to quit a job for about 5 years that I wasn't too happy for. I was like, Liz, listen, you want to be the CEO, you'll never be the CEO here. best case scenario, after 10 years, you'll be a depressed manager, and you deserve better. So when I saw this roll out, I applied, and I applied for a role that I did not meet any of the requirements, none, zero. I just put the job in, went for the first round of interviews, second, and to put it into context, I was replacing a gentleman who had been the CEO for 25 years in that job. So you can see quite a, unashikilia mtu hataki kuacha. Yes, yes. So going into the final set of interviews, I enter a room, I'm being interviewed by the board that I serve now, all men. All men running the biggest airlines, KQ CEO, Skyward CEO, you name it, all these airlines that fly you people around Kenya and abroad, all of them sitting there. And the only question they asked me was, why should we give you the job? And I remember just breaking into a sweat because you've studied everything. I was like, I knew I was gonna talk about center of, aviation, aircraft, what? They asked me one question. I'll tell you the answer in another day because I basically told them off. I told them, listen, this association, you're doing nothing, no one knows who you are, which is true. They were not in the digital space. They were so traditional. Aviation is so traditional, it's so technical. And I just told them, listen, you cannot be the voice of the industry. You can't be the lobby group. And no one knows what the hell you do. And they asked me, what's the first thing you'll do when we give you this job? I told them, I'll open an Instagram page. And I did. So just be your authentic self, I think. Apply yourself. I like that we're talking about the digital space. It's such an important tool. It can't be wished away. It is here to stay. So I have transformed also the association in that way, where now our presence is felt. I can dare say no one can dare think of anything to do with aviation without asking me for a comment or input, or telling me, Madam CEO, are you okay? Can we do this? So never be afraid, I think, to quit. Don't be afraid to quit if you think your future is something brighter. Thank you.
Wow. What I'm thinking, it's interesting, we're talking about personal voice, but then it's more like the association also thought we need to voice out more. So you also got hired, and one of the reasons was that you're able to not speak for self, but then also speak for the organization. Very key. Last question to you, Cynthia. We've talked about this a bit here and there, but I think I'm just trying to look for a practicality so that people can have a takeaway on this. When you're talking about intentionality, building confidence, voice mastery, you speak out and you say, hello, my name is Cynthia, and everybody else is like, wow, What are the practical ways people can, leverage on in their boardrooms, in meetings, in their spaces also, and social media as well, just to be intentional, to be seen if that's what they're interested in. Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that I'm a huge advocate of, and I think the ladies who were in the panel just before we came on spoke about it, is your ability to read the room and then to align to what you need to say. Does that make sense? Does it make sense? Yeah? So you read the room and readjust your messaging so that they're able to understand what you need to say. Yeah? And the other thing is you have to be very, very articulate, consistently articulate. The ums, the ahs, ain't got no space. Because then the minute you do that, I can tell you that for a fact, your credibility just diminishes. Have you ever listened to somebody who has so many of them that you're unable to listen? Completely unable to listen. So when you're having a conversation in a room, you need to have articulated that sentence so well that by the time you say it, it is clear, it is concise, and it's delivering your message exactly how you want it. The other thing I'm very intentional about is you being able to leverage on your strength. What is your strength? What are you good at? Are you good at numbers? Use that. Are you good at, languages? Use that. Are you good in graphics? Use that. Nobody will stop you from being yourself. One of the things I noticed about me is I am both fun and serious. And for a very long time, I have wanted to almost obliterate that fun side of me, until I met a friend of mine called Samke. Samke is from South Africa. Samke is an exceptional woman. And the other day she posted that one of the things she also was trying to beat off is trying to be so serious that the person that you are does not exist anymore. Yet that fun, exciting, goofy side of you is exactly who you need to be to get what you need to get out. So I am, as of now, intentionally trying to balance the two because it is my strength. And that is how I have landed a lot of both corporate, government, and even in my job, emceeing gigs. Because one of the things that they were looking for just the other day was someone who's both fun and serious. Because you're either serious or you're either fun. But I'm not a comedian. But also, I will not be talking financial matters and tax and all those things, but I am able to swing between those two. That is my strength. So if I am not leveraging on that, then what am I doing? Each of you has something that is you, uniquely you. And God was so intentional about putting it in you that he knew everything that you will do will be based off that. That is where you'll get your bread and butter. And if you learn how to leverage on that, you will have won everything. You don't have to stress about owning a boardroom, being present. It's just who you are. For me, it's both being goofy and fun, but also this thing. I can't tell you where it came from. Did not go to a group of schools. It just came, and I'm happy for it. I will never pretend or try and speak any other way. I love it. I live in it. Because the minute I say, hi, my name is Cynthia Mwangi, we're done. And you have no idea how much I milk it. Because I know that is how I get into present rooms. Truth? So whatever your strength is, please take it up, study it, practice it consistently. I am in the middle of the night in front of Amira, practicing pitches, practicing how to speak, practicing how to switch from one side to another consistently, because I know that is how I will get into those rooms. And the minute they give me a microphone, they put a table and tell me, since that this is where you're sitting, I will take it and run. So for me, if you're going to take anything else away from today's conversation, your strength and what is innately you. Please do not try and obliterate that. Whatever it is, use it.
Wow. So if you had a billboard outside your office, house, and it has to speak to women today, what would you have it say?
So mine is linked to, so you will cue me as to when we'll play the clip, because it's completely linked to that. It would definitely say endeavor to be shameless. I think shame is just useless. And people who should have shame achieve so much because they're shameless, right? And with women, so much of our dreams are inhibited because we were given shame from a young age. And so intentionally now, with the work that we're doing and the shows I'm producing, are all geared at raising a new generation of shameless women. And so my billboard would say, endeavor to be shameless. Like every morning, remind yourself to lack shame aggressively. Yeah. I don't know if you want me to say anything about, but this is a show we are launching on the 10th of April, and it's called For Mannerless Women. So if you need help being mannerless, it's definitely the place for you to be. And we brought different women who are going to help you get to be your best selves, people who have helped me personally. So my divorce lawyer came through because there's a lot that women don't know about marriage legally. We have my personal GP who taught me a lot about, can you imagine just like taking control of your physical health as a woman is rebellion? It's crazy, but it's so powerful once you do. We have a psychiatrist who deals mostly with women, And so just helping women understand even just your cycle and your moods, and when should you be planning big meetings and when should you not. And so you're the first to see this. We haven't put out any, like nobody even knows the name. And I thought it would be nice to share this with you guys, just to drill home the thought that I want you guys to be as shameless and as mannerless as possible.
Engineer Liz, what's your billboard?
First of all, I'll change my CV to start with shameless. And then the other technical things can come. I like that. But I think if I was to have a billboard, and I can, every single person here has spoken about taking your space. So it would probably read around taking your space and making sure, because whether big or small, just take your space, because that impact is what will make people not only remember your name, but probably rewrite history to include your name in it. And I think that is so important. So thank you.
Just do it. What is the worst that could happen? To be honest, what is the worst that could happen? Either if you're looking for a promotion, the person is going to tell you no. Did anyone ever die because they were told no? Then, so you went and started a business and it failed. So what? You learned. If anything, it wasn't a failure, it was just an experience that you had. And we move on. So that's why for me, those two, depending on how you want to swing it.
Hi everyone. First of all, I would like to say y'all are phenomenal. Your stories are so inspiring and incredible. And I've loved the conversation about taking up your space and being audacious. I'm Salome Njoki. I'm the founder and lead interior designer, Space Fix. So as an interior designer, I aim at impacting or driving change through my voice. And this is through creating spaces that are safe, that are functional, that are comfortable, and then aesthetics. Because most of the times, I know we live in spaces, but we don't know the impact that those spaces have on us, on our well-being, on our health. So what I'm trying to do is use my voice to advocate, and I'm a sustainability advocate, and I'm actually training towards being a green design expert, because through my voice, I want to really train people, or make people know that the spaces that we're living in, they impact us so much. So my question is directed to Cynthia, and I would love to ask, through my voice, and as an entrepreneur, how can I amplify my voice and make sure that, number one, it gets to my target audience, and then again, it creates a lasting impact? Thank you very much.
Hello, ladies. My name is Lois Mahugu. I am practicing in the water engineering field, and I'm glad to be part of this crowd of wonderful women. So I'm glad to be listening to ladies who are using their voices, and it really inspires me, because for some of us who are introverts, the voice is not so much of our power, but we are learning. The corporate world has taught us, adulting has also taught us that we need to also use our voices in a powerful way. Now, my question will be, emotional intelligence. Do you feel like the term could be used or is used to also suppress or mute the power of voice? Because sometimes when you voice it, it also shows it also interprets something with your emotions. So do you feel, is there a thin line? And is there a thin line between emotional intelligence and also the power of voicing out? Is it the way we say it that shows like you're not emotionally intelligent? Or should there be a balance for the three of you? I think, thank you.
My question goes to all of the women, because all your conversations were revolving. I think I picked on mental health and gaining value as a woman and all that. So how are we going to amplify not only in the media spaces, but also in the corporate spaces and everywhere. Considering Gen Zs, everything for us right now, we just want to amplify, but not being so vocal about it. If we cannot do it in media places, how can we amplify it in churches, in organizations? Because right now everything is really, it's turning the other way around because of judgmentalism, everything of the sort. So how are we going to amplify it so that not only does it favor the female gender, but also the male gender, because there's also that aspect of mental health that cuts across. Thank you.
Okay, so that's Salome. Okay, so the thing about being in media and wanting to use it as a platform to push your conversation on, and especially you said using your voice to leave a lasting impact. Yeah, that's what I took out. Using your voice to leave a lasting impact. I think for me, I'd still go back to you being able to leverage everything you're doing on digital. So there's a lady called Salimo. Salimo created, she used to be my producer for a digital show I had on Citizen, and she loved farming. She loves farming. She has done incredible things. And for her, she said, it's making farming fun, but also for young people. So she has created farm tours, found innovative ways for young people to engage in farming. And she's gone to farms in, I think, Zimbabwe, Tanzania. I think at some point she was headed to South Africa. She has found a niche for herself in farming and started creating content around those spaces. So for you, I'd say the same thing. What is this that you love to do? Then if it's interior design, then tell me about the colors. Tell me about what goes with what. Tell me if I want to achieve this, what do I do? And walk me through that journey. One of the biggest things that we're not taking advantage of, or we're being shamed, or we're being hit back with, is leveraging on AI. Sweetie, get on to that ChatGPT, get on Gemini, tell them to come beat you, okay? Because what it's doing is it's crawling across all the platforms available, seeking the information that you want, and then putting it together for you. Otherwise, you'd be in a library for years. Use it. See how to curate conversations and content specifically for what it is that you need to do. Have no shame. As I said, the audacity of a man, okay? Literally feed into ChatGPT or Gemini or Deep Search. How do I curate content around interior design? Walk me through feng shui in an urban area. Give me content for 1 month that I can post on TikTok, Instagram, and also include captions. Include hashtags that I can also use. Then after you're done with that, link it to Canva. Then create posters for these things that I have here. On top of that, there's I think a pre-scheduling app, if not within Canva as well. Pre-schedule your content. You don't even need to use your actual voice. AI will do that for you. You have created content by just sitting at your desk. And people will be like, oh my God, this is incredible. Yes, it is. You're an incredible woman. You took time. Did you not take time? Are you not aware of your craft? Do you not know what you need? Then that's exactly what you need to do. Again, audacity, sweetie. You got it. You just need to do it. Fuck it, man. Just do it.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Maybe, Liz, I can give you the question on emotional intelligence.
I was with you on that.
Oh, perfect.
We're in sync. Then I'll leave the last one for Adelle to take.
Right.
I think it was emotional intelligence versus when to know to voice. So 2 things, I think, voicing, when you're voicing, it's the first thing to ask yourself is, what exactly are you trying to say? At times, don't just speak for the sake of. So I think it's also important to, first of all, ask yourself, what are you trying to say, and who are you saying it to? And emotional intelligence is more than just the word emotional intelligence. It also means empathy. We keep on hearing, read the room, really read the room. it also cuts across people skills and social skills. You know, how do you relate with the people you're speaking to? And also it also means being decisive at times. I think people forget that also emotional intelligence means you can just make a decision. It can be as simple as yes or no, or come see me after 2 months when I have made that decision. So I hope I've answered, I think it was Lois's question. Thank you.
I'm going to be disobedient and add something more to Lois. But I gave you guys a disclaimer earlier on. The first thing that came to my mind is something that I completely hate, which is respectability politics. And the idea that you, as a woman, show up as a lesser version of you in rooms just so that you can negotiate respect. I don't think that's a negotiation you need to be part of. And why I bring that up is because being more in touch with your emotions isn't a weakness. And we're taught that, especially when it comes to business, we're taught that as a woman, you'll be weaker at it because of emotions, right? And when you talked about the blur as to whether it can be used to oppress, I think it is, which is why I'm normally leaning more towards you showing up in the version that you are that day, right? And not reducing who you are so that the room respects you, especially for women, because then the line between that and oppression is blurred. And I'd rather you come off as disrespectful than you not coming into the room as your full self, which means, because you're human and not a robot, together with your emotions, right? And so I also acknowledge my privilege, because the rooms that I'm going into, first already know I'm disobedient and I'm loud, and they will give me respect just so that things are calm, right? So I have that privilege. But I think we need more women not using emotional intelligence as a way to reduce who they are. You've got to be so careful about that, because then you start participating in respectability politics, which I think is just foolish. It should not even be a term that exists, but here we are, right? To the third question, I didn't get your name, but I got that you're an introvert, and so, yeah, yay to all of us. I think everyone, if I got it right, it's on mental health and how we can champion this in all our spaces. Kenyans do this thing, and I don't know if it's humans. We do this thing where we wait for someone else to do it. If it's fighting Ruto, we wait for Boniface Mwangi to go on the streets. If it's we need something changed in, and I saw it while being employed, we need, even if it's just something as basic as a nursing room, right? We wait for someone to get pregnant and then say it, right? Whereas we're very intelligent people, right? We know right from wrong, we know where there are gaps, and we have the voice. And so I think everybody is influential in their own space. For example, if I come and start telling your family or your parents or your guardians to do something, they won't listen to me, they'll listen to you, right? So in that space, you have some form of influence. So if it comes to mental health issues in the church, and you're aware that the pastor who wants to give therapy sessions is not a therapist, what is stopping you from standing up and saying, that's wrong, that's actually quite unethical, you are not a therapist? Just the same way, if I broke my leg, I would not come to you, I would go to a hospital. So in the spaces that we occupy, we are influential, but we do this thing where we're waiting for somebody else to show up, to point out the gap, or to start the conversation that could lead to a solution. So this cuts across, it's not only mental health issues, But I think if we go in to all the spaces, please be the black sheep in your family, because that one actually terminates generational trauma and issues, right? Question, why is mental health not important on a family level, right? Why is mental health not important in this business where I work at? Why do we not talk about it in church? Why is it not brought up in my friend group? Each one of us is influential, and I think once we start there, it'll be so easy for us to even interrogate mental health policies that actually exist in this country, because we're used to saying, hey, this is not working, so what is this Ministry of Health? What are you guys doing about this? Oh, you've not included ABCD. I think when we stop waiting for somebody else to do it, things will actually move faster.
Thank you. Thank you so much, ladies, for a wonderful session. Thank you for the dialogue. And I think this is our last panel of the day. We are moving towards the closing ceremony. Before we go, I know we want to take a picture, but there's some protocols, so just sit tight. So before I invite them to take a photo, we'll all come to the front and take a group photo, right? And have that posted, because if you didn't post it, it didn't happen, right?